Welcome to the SpartanMag.com VCast. Jim Comparoni, Paul Konyndyk, Breslin Center. Michigan State losing to number 23 ranked Wisconsin, 70-57. Wisconsin the better team tonight. Michigan State, Tom Izzo really grumpy for good reason after the game, saying he wants to, things you've heard Izzo say after losses like this in the past, that he's going to get back after it. The old brass tacks speech, rebounding defense. But I'm not sure this team's ever going to be the type of rebounding team he needs it to be. This team, in order to win and beat good teams like Wisconsin, and Wisconsin is good, and we'll talk about that in a moment. They're good for now, December 5th, but for Michigan State to beat good teams, whether it's Arizona or Duke or Wisconsin, they have to shoot well. This is a jump shooting team, for better or worse, and a team that Michigan State was, from three-point range was outshot by Wisconsin in addition to being out-rebounded. But Michigan State's shooting became hot early in the second half, brought them back. Crowd came to life. Michigan State looked good, down by 2 or 3 midway through the second half. But Michigan State is basically a streak shooting team right now, Paul. And with that, they're a streaky losing team. 4-4 for the season right now? I think they're going to be pretty good in time, but they've got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, and I'm not saying they're streaky because they went on that like Bender dumpster fire at the end, because I don't think it had to do with them being streaky. That had to do with Wisconsin being a tough-ass physical team and mauling on them. I mean, Tyson Walker is as tough as they come, and he's as much of a grinder as you get. But every time he came off a screen, they were beating the crap out of him. They're hitting him hard every single time. And when he went to the bench, when they were up or when they were down by 3, he could barely walk to the bench. He was exhausted, and then they had some empty possessions. And you talk about them being a jump shooting team. Well, they have to be, because no one's going to honor any kind of, until someone honors an outside shot, you're not going to have any room to get the ball inside. There's a limited number of things you can do. And I've said this so many times, but they missed Joey Hauser. Joey Hauser, when he was here, I promise you, maybe I'm wrong. I'm dumb sometimes, but they didn't get out-rebounded by Wisconsin. He always had a double-double. Today was different with Malik Hall being injured and whatnot, but you talk about the streakiness, like guys like Jaden Akins. I don't care. You go 1 for 4, so what? You can't go 0 for rebounds. Like Tyson Walker gets 4 rebounds. Jaden Akins, you're an athlete, go get rebounds. You can't take naps on defense or sulk and let that affect you. Going back to media day, and I like Jaden Akins a lot. I always have. I've been really high on him. I still am. But going back to media day, one of his goals, and Tom Izzo was big about goals, but one of Jaden Akins' goals was being a Big Ten all-defensive team. Well, if you're going to be Big Ten all-defense, you don't let your offense dictate what your defense does. And we saw that today. He was very poor. And they need him to rebound because, Trey Holloman is good. He's a good defender. He's got that length and he's got some athleticism, but he's not a great rebounder. So, if you take Jaden Akins off the floor and you put Trey Holloman in there, maybe you get some better defense because of the length, but you also lose rebounding. I know today it wouldn't matter because Jaden Akins didn't get a single rebound in 20 minutes, but, Wisconsin was ready for Big Ten play. Michigan State was not. That's another thing, and that's one of the things that sometimes these games, and we've seen games like this where Michigan State gets rocked early. I think Northwestern came in here. Was it last year or 2 years ago?
Northwestern beat Michigan State last year 366 days ago, a day and a year afterwards, and that was the opener of the Big Ten season. And after that game, Michigan State fell to 4-4,
right?
Just like they are right now.
So I mean, you see that type of thing. The difference is Michigan State had Joey Hauser. Going back to that, a guy you can't. It's not just the 78 threes or however many.
I'll say this, but Joey Hauser didn't really become the Joey Hauser until even later last year. So
he had 27 points against Kentucky. In that second game, he hit threes. He didn't hit threes on the aircraft carrier. He was reliable. He found ways to score. He did rebound. He had double-doubles. He could score inside.
But he wasn't like the reliable weapon that he would become later in the year that he was when they lost to Northwestern.
But he was their second leading scorer on a consistent basis. And he was a double-double guy. He didn't turn into the guy that could, he had a huge game against Kentucky, like I just mentioned. He had some really big games later on in the season, where he had 5 or 6 threes. But early on, he was a guy that could hit two or three, and he was one of the reasons why Michigan State was shooting, like about 5 or 6 games into the Big Ten, shooting a high percentage from 3. And the thing is, you don't have a Joey Hauser this year. Malik Hall, I know he was sick tonight, but he still looks like he's like scared to shoot those threes. He's like he leans in when he shoots them.
I wouldn't judge him anything he did tonight.
Right. but I think it's still not where I think Malik Hall's going to get there to be able to knock down a couple of threes a game, but he's not there yet. And so what I'm trying to get around to is if Jaden Akins isn't hitting threes, then it's all Tyson Walker because A.J. Hoggard, even though he hit a couple tonight, his game is going downhill. His game is muscle ball. The threes are gravy. If Jaden Akins isn't hitting threes, Michigan State's losing Big Ten games. Yeah, bottom line, against good teams.
Yeah, if you have Akins playing like that and you don't have Malik Hall at what he's supposed to be and what he can be, yeah, you're gonna have trouble against a good Wisconsin team, a Wisconsin team that right now is very good. And coming into this game. In the opening moments, I was a little late getting here because I didn't have my phone. Went back out to my car, wasn't there, came in, and I missed the very beginning of it and saw replays of it later. But what I was going to say to you, and something I was going to post in the pregame on the message board before the game, I was going to say the way Wisconsin played against Marquette, Michigan State has not played this season once good enough to beat the Wisconsin that played against Marquette. Now, the Wisconsin team that came out here today was not dissimilar from the Wisconsin team that beat Marquette. Now, against Marquette, Klesmit had 21 in the first half. In this game, Kroll and Storr shot crazy. Kroll is a guy that shot 29% from three-point range last year. I think 30%. Had attempted 5 3-pointers all year, and he makes 4 out of 4 tonight. That's a big difference maker to make a difference in a game. Storr is a guy that shot 21% from three-point range prior to this game, 6 out of 28 for the year. Comes out tonight, 4 out of 6 from 3. When you have two guys like that combining to go, 8 out of 10 from three-point range, and the rest of the outfit is typical Wisconsin Badger swing offense, rebounding, and the rest of it. Good luck trying to beat that team, and Michigan State couldn't get it done.
Yeah, Tyler Wall. I know like guys like there's some guys out there that if you appreciate basketball, you appreciate Tyler Wall. He's the ultimate glue guy in the offensive rebounds, and he does whatever his team needs him to do on any given night that they play. Now Michigan State, when they played them last year, I believe here, or maybe it was even at Wisconsin, I can't remember, but they didn't have Tyler Wall, and he's a big difference maker. And
he was injured at time last year, and
right.
that's what cost them.
And they were playing really, really well until he got injured.
They were 11-2 last year when they played Michigan State.
Right, and when they were playing,
ended up in the NIT.
And I felt at times last year when I watched them play in the preseason that they were better than this, right? Like better than they look tonight. So Wisconsin has they typically play really well this time of year. And Michigan State typically plays better than this. They've got some holes in it. They've got to work on it. I thought A.J. Hoggard did some really good things tonight. He got downhill like he's supposed to. Mm-hmm. I thought before Tyson Walker got worn out, and he did a really nice job of fighting through some real physicality and getting open on the wing. And he did some really nice things. Tyson Walker did a lot of the things that you need to do to win. The guy that didn't was Jaden Akins, and I think he's got to kind of limit what he does. I think last year he was a catch and shoot guy. He did a little bit of mid range. I think he's just got to go back to being they've got to limit what he's able to do and what they want him to do. And I think he's not driving. If he's playing for me, he's not driving the ball against a Big Ten team until he proves he can do it. And I don't care what the conversations were like in the offseason. He can be a catch and shoot guy. He can be a defensive player. And if you do those things, then you can earn some opportunities to create, but not against this team. And I think Jaden Akins has got too much on his mental plate right now, where I think when he gets the ball, he's trying to figure out whether he wants to drive and do this or that. And he'd tell me I'm full of bull crap. That's for you, Stroker. But I think he's got too many things he's thinking about.
Yeah, when he drives, like at the end of the first half, Michigan State just cut it to 5 or 6, and Wisconsin ended the first half on a 5-0 run. And off a rebound, Michigan State gets it, and they're pushing in transition, and he's trying hard, bless his heart, to create something. Ends up at the baseline, gets cut off, and tries to attempt a hammer pass to the other corner, throws it away.
He got bumped on that when he got cut off. I mean, cut off by Wisconsin is give you the hip as hard as they can and send you flying. I mean, this was Big Ten basketball tonight, and it was like what you expected. I think, like Tom Izzo wanted to blame himself afterwards. I think he deserves to blame himself in some ways because I don't think Michigan State was – there's been a few times where Michigan State gets caught and they realize, oh, hey, we're playing Big Ten ball. We've played some good teams so far. Big Ten ball is different. It's physical, it's nasty, and these guys know how to get away with stuff, and they do it. Michigan State wasn't ready for that, for that marathon, that hammer getting dropped on them, and Malik Hall shouldn't have been playing at the end.
Izzo said Izzo was taking blame for playing Malik Hall as many minutes as he did. Malik Hall played 23 minutes. Izzo said he shouldn't have been out there as much. Malik Hall starts the second half. He's had the flu, didn't practice on Saturday, Sunday, or Monday. Izzo looked him in the eye, and Hall showed up and said, I can play, so they gave it a shot. The rest of the problem there is you start Cooper, and Cooper can move his feet defensively and do good things defensively on ball screens against point guards for a moment. He played some power forward last year in March, but Izzo didn't like the way Sissoko and Cooper played together when it comes to communication and coverages, and those two have not played any game minutes together all season. So it's a rude awakening when you're playing Wisconsin early on, and then Wall gets open for a couple three-pointers in the opening 3 minutes. I don't know if that had anything to do with it or not, but Michigan State trying to have X number of their crap together for game, whatever this was, game 9 of the season, against a team that really has their crap together at this stage, and Michigan State could not execute with them.
If you can't shoot, you got to have people out there that can rebound, and I think a guy like Mahdi, he can scrap, and Hall was not going to get any offensive rebound. Like Izzo talks about, hey, they got 8 offensive rebounds, down the stretch or whatever. Mm-hmm. Whatever Izzo said. It was a Izzo stat. I don't know.
They had 4. There was a 12-2 run. Right. And during the 12-2 run, they had 4 offensive rebounds during that, and they scored 8 points off of those 4 offensive rebounds.
Malik Hall wasn't getting an offensive rebound. He wasn't capable of getting,
he gave up 2 of the defensive rebounds.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I meant. He's not getting a defensive rebound there. He's incapable of it. He was gassed. He shouldn't have been on the floor.
They were kind of funny bounce rebounds too, but Wall has a way of getting those funny bounce rebounds.
He has a way of grabbing you hard and sitting on your hip and making it so you've got to go through him, and you've got to destroy him to get those rebounds. But Malik Hall is a dude that's been playing for 5 years. I mean, if healthy, you'd want a guy like that out there. But tonight with Michigan State shooting that way, I don't know. They're not going to win this game regardless. But you can't play physical basketball with Malik Hall at 25%.
All right, both teams were 23 of 51 from the floor. Both teams were 23 of 51 from the floor. But Wisconsin, three-point range, 43%. Michigan State, 31%.
Wisconsin made more hard shots. There's lots of shots where they looked hard. They're like contested shots, but every time they get the ball in the paint, their shoulders are square. And they're good fundamentals. They had one cheap 3 that was a front rim. The rim was soft and it bounced through, but they did a really nice job. And Michigan State, frankly, missed a lot of layups. I think I leaned over to you during the game, and I was like, Hogard can't go for these elbow jumpers. He's going to drive to the rim and finish through contact or whatever. And he's good against Wisconsin doing that. Michigan State, on a lot of that stuff to the rim, it didn't go. But guys like Trey Holloman, guys like Jeremy Fears, they have not done that against Big Ten teams before. So, whereas A.J. Hogard kind of makes his money doing that, those two dudes haven't, and it's a whole different animal, absorbing that contact and finishing over the course of a game.
And that 12-2 run that was pivotal with 5 minutes to go down to the 3-minute mark. It began with Fears on a couple of drives that ended up being empty possessions. Ambitious drives on his behalf. He had scored on one of those a moment earlier.
And they were close, man. They rolled off the rim, and but again, that's like one of those type of shots. Like A.J. Hogard, if he's doing that early in his career as a true freshman, he's not making those. Those are rolling off. Jeremy Fears, as he gets stronger and as he gets used to playing through, if he plays Wisconsin again, watch some of those go in. But it's a process, and Michigan State needs to be able to hit some jumpers besides Tyson Walker doing it, because Tyson Walker is working awfully hard for everything he gets. And, it's looking like Cassius Winston, the pre-wear down Cassius Winston at times out there with Tyson Walker.
Both teams missed 28 shots. But Wisconsin, 11 offensive rebounds on 28 misses. Michigan State, 5 offensive rebounds on 28 misses. They had offensive rebounds on 39% of their misses. Michigan State offensive rebounds on only 17% of the misses, and that's the game.
Right.
Now, Greg Gard, the coach for Wisconsin, some interesting comments. He says, we, Wisconsin, are way better than we were a year ago, which everybody can see that. Although they began the year last year 11-2 with like a 1-point loss to Kansas. Wall became injured. They had some limitations, ended up in the NIT. They won 4 games in the NIT, but they were in the NIT. They get A.J. Storrs, a transfer from St. John's, 6'5", a big guard who can post up, which they love. He's got some athletic ability. That's a great athletic addition to what they had coming back with Wall coming back healthy. You know, they lost to Tennessee, and then they lost at Providence. Now they've won 6 or 7 or 8 straight, and they're looking pretty good. I don't know if they're going to stay good all season, but right now on December 5th, they have a lot of their crap together, and they're difficult to play against, and they were good tonight.
The difference between them right now and what they were last year, besides those new additions that you spoke of, are last year they were getting open with a lot of the swing stuff. I mean, they were still getting open. They were running it, and they were getting open, but they're just missing shots. You know, they didn't have guys that were always like – they didn't have guys that were always knocking those shots down. Now they've got a whole bunch of different guys that can do it, and they've shown that they can ride the hot hand. But they've also got better role players. It's not just one guy. You know, when Tyler Wall went down last year, that kind of really hurt a lot of what they did because the ball wasn't going to Connor and Sijan as much, that type of thing, and it was just like those two guys crawl with Connor and Sijan, crawl outside to Sijan out, or crawl inside Sijan outside. But now they've got different weapons, and these guys are capable of hitting open jumpers.
And Asija takes one shot, makes a three-pointer when Akins got lost on a screen one time, and is on the bench. They were not happy with Akins on that play. Klesmit scores 21 in the first half the other day against Marquette. Today, Greg Gard was talking about that Chucky Hepburn was getting tired guarding Tyson Walker and all the things that Walker makes you do coming around those screens and wearing you out. So Gard said we had to put Klesmit on him, and Klesmit with a bigger body at 6'4" and also a fresh body. Yeah. Gard thought that was a big turning point in terms of shutting off Michigan State's rhythm. And his point is, we, Wisconsin, he says, have more depth and more of that versatility to plug guys in for a role like that. So we needed to stop Walker. We put Klesmit on him. Yeah. Wall gets in foul trouble, and they go to the bench. They have 6'7" Carter Gilmore, 6'11" Nolan Winter, 6'9" Marcus Silver. They come in and they're fine. Michigan State, Malik Hall gets a flu, and they're screwed. Xavier Booker's not ready to play in a game like this. Jackson Kohler's injured, so they're like grasping at straws. The difference there in terms of big man depth for Wisconsin was a big reason why the Badgers were able to win this game also at this stage in the season.
Absolutely. And the thing about it is, like, their off-ball defense, like the reason why they were successful against Tyson Walker late is because they pounded on him away from the ball. And I think it was like one of those WWE or old WWF type days, and always is in the Big Ten where the refs get caught watching something over here. And
a foreign object? Foreign object.
Not a foreign object, but Tyson Walker, man, he's getting beat on. And you can see, like I'm watching him, and he's getting beat on.
Did you see when they put Klesmit in, like after the timeout, when Klesmit was guarding him around the screen, he bumped him.
Yeah, exactly.
On his bad hip, and Izzo wanted a call, but
he got bumped 3 times on that.
And Walker wasn't quite the same the rest of the game after that. Not because of that hit, but because Klesmit's a new dude on him.
But because he's pounding on him, and it's frustrating and wearing, and you know that when you're not getting called, it's really frustrating.
All right, good job by Wisconsin today.
Yeah, and I have a lot of respect for them. They play the basketball hard. They're not dirty. They're not like the Bo Ryan, Wisconsin, the dirty team. They're physical. They're nasty, and I say that with all respect because I have a lot of respect for that program.
And when they out-rebound you by 15 and shoot 43% from 3, good luck trying to beat them. You're going to need somebody to play like a bunch of racehorses.
Rebounding is a stat of the game. I mean, you cannot. This is not a team. This is not a Wisconsin team that goes hard to the glass. So if you're giving up, I mean, Michigan State's been consistently in the last 4 years +10 on these guys.
Yeah. So, I mean, Hogard played the way he's supposed to. He was excellent. You know, Walker carried him for a while. He did some good things, too. Got to get Akins to wake up at some point. I thought his medium-range game against Georgia Southern or whoever it was the other night when they played, I thought that was a nice step in the right direction.
They took that away, the middle of the floor that was open against Georgia Southern. It wasn't open against tonight for Akins. Where he's bad on the mid-range, and I don't know why he hasn't worked on this, but he's still, when he's coming baseline in that pull-up, he's still not right mechanically. You know, he's like all fading and whatnot. If he comes straight at you and it's elbow, he has much better, mechanics where he's straight up and down. He's not drifting or anything like that. They did a nice job of forcing him into baseline shots.
And then Michigan State started the second half with Akins on the bench, started Holloman, and Holloman delivered a big three-pointer from the right wing when Michigan State had their comeback in the first half. And he's had some good moments so far this season.
He had another three-pointer that was wiped off the books.
I didn't really understand why that was. You guys watched it at home. Maybe you got, but it used to be if you make a three-pointer while there's a foul away, you get the basket and the possession, and they wipe the basket off.
So
that's a new one for me.
My question for you is, okay, let's say I'm a goon, and I see that Tyson Walker is getting the ball wide open in the corner.
So
why not I just tackle you?
Right. That takes away that shot.
Before he gets that ball. To me, that's like, I know the rules committee would look at it, but to me, that's like something that John Chaney would do.
Yeah, that should have cut the lead to 8 points, and Michigan State gets the ball. It could have been a turning point for the Spartans. We didn't even ask Izzo about that after the game, but I mean,
they weren't going to win, but I just that was one of those oddities that every once in a while I'm like, what was that about?
I mean, my entire life that's a basket and possession. I don't know why that was different.
That wouldn't have gone down with Ed Hightower.
Now they look at the replay, so I'm sure by the letter of the law they got it right that the foul took place before the shot release. But I'm just telling you, my whole life that the basket counts.
Okay, if the guy's in his shot, so are they looking at where the ball is when he gets fouled? Because if he's in the act of shooting, he's in the act of shooting. Because it was like boom, boom. So it wasn't.
If it had been contact on the elbow, it counts. But instead, it's a clothesline away from the play. Then it doesn't count.
But I'm saying, okay, so they're like, are they looking at it and saying, is the ball in his hands? Because that to me is really stupid. Because if I'm jumping for a jump shot, as soon as I'm in the act of jumping, that should be a shot.
I don't know. It's on Peacock. I might try to watch it again if I've got it saved somewhere. I hear that you can't rewind and fast forward through it very efficiently in that network. I don't know.
Maybe I'll just email.
Maybe he'll never know. But Akins has to come around at some point. Obviously, they're doing what they can. They're leaning on him hard. They're trying to press the right buttons. Malik Hall's going to come back and get healthy and be what they need him to be, provided everybody else stays healthy. Michigan State's got the parts to be a good basketball team still, but the margin for error is not as thick as maybe we thought coming into the year. And we've seen Michigan State battle through times like this in past seasons. They'll get it going. They'll be fine. They'll be dangerous in March. Losing this game puts them at 0-1 with 19 games to go in the Big Ten, with Northwestern having upset Purdue. There was a little bit of a daylight there to maybe get a little bit of a lead against others, but they've got other things to worry about than the Big Ten standings right now.
Mental toughness is one thing that I would be concerned about with this Michigan State team. I didn't think it would be the case because of what they went through last year and what they've been through for the last few years. This is a team that came in with a lot of confidence, thought that they were going to win it all, thought that they were a Final Four team, thought that they put in the work and stuff like that. And I think these guys have got to get rebuilt a little bit mentally, and they got to be able to turn the corner. I think these guys might be gripping a little bit. I know, and I only say that because I do think that who's leading right now? I mean, who's providing real leadership and is a calming. But they do have. I don't want to make too huge a deal about the lack of confidence right now, but it is a deal.
The problem is it's December 5th, and there should be nothing to create anxiety right now. And that's what Izzo was complaining about last week with the way the schedule is. He'd love to be playing Nicholls State right now and getting Xavier Booker 11 minutes and get a win and all this. That's what you're supposed to be doing in December. You play 3 or 4 tough games.
This isn't new. It's been 5 years of this.
5 years. But the Big Ten games, when they first started the 20-game Big Ten schedule, the Big Ten games were closer to New Year's. Right. And they didn't like that because it was too much of a long grind. So they tried to divide the grind and play some of these games earlier. And now you play this game and you'll play at Nebraska. And then you come back. Then you play Oakland. And then you play somebody else. But that upsets the apple cart a little bit in terms of the usual rhythm of the build of a season. You have a game like this, a Big Ten banger on December 5th.
I mean, it's not like it's the first year of this. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of
Was
it.
it the second year of this?
Fifth, third, or fourth.
But the first couple of years, they played them all in consecutive. They didn't divide it up.
They played 2 games, Big Ten games, for the last at least 3 years.
3 years.
Yeah, I mean, you're old, I'm old, but they've been doing this for a while. So sometimes it's benefited Michigan State, sometimes it hasn't. But they've got to get their minds right, and they got to find a way to regroup. And I do think confidence is the issue right now, and it's not going to get easier playing against Oakland because those guys, they smell blood in the water.
All right. Okay, we appreciate Paul being here. Appreciate everybody checking in. Go over to SpartanMag.com, become a subscriber. Should have said that earlier, but we had some stuff we got to get to about this game and Michigan State and basketball and what's next for the Spartans. We'll be covering Michigan State as they look to go to Nebraska on Sunday, and as we continue to cover Michigan State football recruiting and the roster management with Michigan State football over at SpartanMag.com. Get over there and become a subscriber. I'd love to have you try it. $1 for a month, SpartanMag.com. Anything else? For Paul Konyndyk, my name is Jim Comparoni. You've been watching the VCast from the Breslin Center in East Lansing with the Spartans, SpartanMag.com.